I was in public relations. I worked for an agency and they sent me to the town hall to be secretary or assistant for a fortnight while the secretary was getting married and having a honeymoon. And at the end of that time, like, it's early 1970s, um, the Ugandan problem blew up. And we had a little visit from Charles Swift, came into the office and said he'd offered these houses and there wasn't a department anywhere that could take it on board because it was such a quick happening. And so he said, it's over to you, to the public relations officer, who looked at me and said, and you, to me. So from that was how it was introduced. And gradually, over the course of 2 or 3 weeks to get it started, we had to get keys from the housing officer or Charles, and we needed 50 empty houses. And we did get 50 empty houses all around Peterborough. And as soon as I got the key to a house, 2, 3, 4 children, whatever I needed, set to get it furnished, either decorated, because some of them needed decorating, certainly all carpeted in a sort of a purple colour I chose, and lovely floral curtains I chose for most of the houses. Found a dressmaker who was willing to make them drop everything and make these curtains, which she did, and her husband fitted the curtain fittings. So that was easy. The two together, they worked, and I'd give her the key and she'd go and hang them and drape them. In the meantime, I was out buying lounge suites or furniture, chairs, tables, cupboards, beds, bed linen, cutlery. I didn't have much to do with the food. That came from a different source. I bought a few things like basics, tea, coffee, milk, bread and butter to set up, but there was someone else doing the food side of it. We didn't have much of a budget, as you can imagine. It was all done rather quickly to get you into a house. We put an advert and a story in the local paper for anybody that's got anything that they'd like to donate of good condition. I managed to get hold of a warehouse quickly where we could store things and had everything sent to this warehouse. And we were inundated with offers of china, pictures, paintings, rugs, bedding. We didn't take the bedding, that was all brand spanking new. Some furniture, I was able to go out and buy furniture, but a lot of it was certainly donated. Chairs and settees were donated. And we bought new beds, new mattresses. The curtains and carpets were brand new. And of course, if there was a cooker, we had to get a new cooker for everybody, gas or electric, whichever was in the house. And showed them where the shops were, how near the shops they were, or bus routes so they could get about. Yeah, so that was quite a rush to get things in so they could get there quickly, and an arrangement with a carpet supply. They're not there now. Now there's a lady that made the curtains, and it's a long time ago, isn't it? It's 50 years ago. And to get them done quickly, and she was very good seamstress. And I just take her a bale of cloth with some measurements, which I had to take all the measurements of the curtains. And she got on with it. She was very good. And the carpet fitter, just a telephone call, and I bought the whole roll of the carpet, 2 or 3 of them that had them in store. And when he wanted them, he just took them and did it. And he fitted everything. Apart from clean, we never took bedding or anything to do with beds. They were all spotless and new. Unpacked the bedding as they got there. All the towels were absolutely new. They all came and they're brand spanking new. They're all in their wrapping when we got to the house. I've met the first couple. I can't remember their name. They were a young couple with 2 little boys. I met them at the North Station, and it was called the North Station in those days because we had an East Station as well. And took them to their house in Westwood Street. And it was a very sad story. Her sister had died just before all this happened. So to get her out quickly, the husband married the sister with his two boys, and to get her out of the country quickly. So they lived there for many years, I understand. And so that was my first couple, which I can remember. And there was one family that I remember quite well. He was an importer in Uganda for the VW car, Volkswagen. He was the main distributor. I have tried to find her over the years, but no one seems to remember the family, and I can't remember their name. She told me to call her Rosa because she said, "You'll never pronounce my name." So I always called her Rosa. And so this lovely lady hadn't even got a clue how a bed was made, because she had servants. They lived in a big complex, quadrangle complex, and she had servants. She wondered what pillows and pillowcases, what it all meant. So gave her a bed making lesson one day, and we were sitting up in the bedroom having a little chat, and she said, "We are now sisters, you and I," which I thought was lovely. And so she read some verses to me out of her Quran, and I remember that, sitting on the edge of the bed talking. And she said, "I now have to be reborn because I'm in a new country and here I shall be staying." And they brought his mother with them because they got her out as well. And the two little boys, she got twin boys, which I believe were actually born here at the centre they arrived at down in south somewhere. They were tiny little babies. And so I remember her quite well. And then from then onwards, it was just getting the keys for the various houses and assessing 2 children, 3 children, 4 children, or however many, to get the size of the house if possible. It was all done very quickly to get you out of the centre into a house. And then they got a job and they went to work. And Rosa eventually opened her own little shop selling saris in Peterborough for a couple of years. I think her husband did quite well. I think he started at Perkins. Anyway, that was their little story. They all had a story to tell, sad stories to tell, of being shot on bridges or being thrown into rivers with crocodiles. It was all very sad indeed. Paper and television is all I knew about them. And of course, as we got more involved, we had letters from higher up places that what we were doing was good and all the rest of it. I didn't work with Charles. He was a counsellor, head of the council, and we were in public relations, and he dealt a lot with public relations department. He was always in and out of the office, having a little chat about something or the other. And I'd known him since he was a young boy. I'd known him because he's a local lad, known him and his mother, knew his mother, and I knew his sister, Audrey, and both his mother and his sister became mayors of the city. And in fact, I went to his mum's funeral when she died, and they were all very civic-minded, the whole family. She had an aunt in America who was a mayor in her city, and he'd got an aunt in Yorkshire and cousins are all involved with the local government. So he was a very keen member of society, really, for local government. And we lived in his ward for a short time. Then he moved the wards, or the boundaries were changed. But he was my counsellor for a while in my ward. So I got to know him very, very well. And he used our house as a stopping spot to drop off lots of literature so he could pick it up on his way around and things like that. Known him for years, and he never changed. It was always the same, Charles Swift. Yeah. CWS, Charles William Swift. Charles was a very active Christian, and I was a member of Christians. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I was a member of our church. I sang in the choir, and my husband was the bandmaster there, and we led meetings. We was like lay preachers. So that was at the background of my thinking. It's the least of these my people, to help them. I didn't encounter any racism at all. I encountered kindness,
mm,
and help with the people that were donating things.
mm,
People were bringing chairs in and furniture, coats, warm coats. And they were all saying, "This is lovely. We're so pleased we're doing this. So pleased we can help in a very small way," which wasn't a small way, it was important.
mm,
Everything they did and brought us was very important, and we tried to spread it out as far as we could. I never met any racism. I hadn't got the sort of the front that Charles would obviously have. I mean, any reports in the paper, Charles would be the spokesman because he was the man that instigated it. So I just got on with what I had to do, and that was it. No, I never experienced any racism at all. I don't think there was a great deal, but I think this hit a note perhaps for some people. It does, doesn't it? They wanted a house and there was an empty house and we were giving it to Ugandans, probably. I don't know. Um, I know I never experienced it. I was very pleased to be asked to do it
mm,
because I thought this is quite a challenge. I mean, I was really secretarial material going into social side overnight.
mm,
I had no idea what to expect. I just had to sort of grope in the dark about it. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? What do I need first? Where should I start? Um, so I had a little sheet for every house I was given, and I wrote my own sets of questions and what I needed to put in that house, and just got on with it from day one, really. And I mean, I enjoyed doing it very much indeed. Oh, there's another one gone. Let's tick that box. How many more to go? Oh, 38. Oh, we're not doing too badly. Getting on with it. Um, yes, yes, I enjoyed doing it because I did feel I was helping someone.
yeah,
Um, that's how I felt. How would I have felt in your situation with no one to help in a strange country?
yeah.
Couldn't be done, could it? Couldn't
No,
have happened, could it? What
no,
would you have done? You couldn't walk into a strange town and think, "Well, where do I go now?" But as humble as it was, and as ordinary as it seemed, um, it was important to get you out of the camps into a house, and I did enjoy doing that. And that was it, really, I think. And then after the about 9 months, or because we took on an extra 8, when it was all finished, there was about 8 that couldn't get anywhere. So Charles, we took the 8 in, and we finished with the last 8. And then there was a big reorganisation in the local government, and so I was then offered the job of mayor secretary, which I was in for about 20 years.